Hello and welcome to Philosophy Bites. I am in the Highlands of Scotland, and what more beautiful a place could there be to talk about the design or teleological argument. Now there have been many design arguments throughout history. I'm going to focus on William Paley's, but just first of all I'd like to mention St. Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas actually talked about the planets and how the planets revolve around the sun, but they don't choose to. So if they don't choose to, then there must be some kind of intelligent design that actually causes the planets to rotate the sun. So that's where Aquinas is coming from, because Aquinas follows Aristotle. Aristotle talks about the idea of telos, or final cause, goal, purpose. And Aquinas used the analogy of an archer firing an arrow at a target. So God creates everything to fulfill its telos. We move from potentiality to actuality. So if you imagine a match has the potential to be lit, but until you actually light it, it's not fulfilling its potential. When you light it, it does fulfill its telos. So, the midgies are out. So, moving on to Paley. In 1800, William Paley came up with his version of the design argument, and he was a bit of a scientist, really. He loved studying nature, and that's where he got his idea from the argument, his version of it anyway. What other arguments he'd read, we're going to find out shortly that David Hume criticizes a lot of Paley's views 23 years before Paley did his argument. So maybe Paley hadn't read David Hume. This is a long time ago. Hume was a Scottish philosopher in the 1800s. So Paley says, imagine you come across a moor. You might be able to understand that with my accent. Some people call it moor. Like, basically a bit of land with like a natural piece of land with heather on it. And he says you come across a watch. Now, in Paley's day, he was talking about like a pocket watch with lots of cogs and gears inside of it. And he says you find this watch and you look at it and you examine it. Now, he says even if you'd never seen a watch before in your whole entire life, if you'd never seen a watch before, you would still look at this thing and think it was designed. Because, first of all, it's complicated. It's got lots of different parts. It's intricate. And you'd think it's got a purpose. If it was ticking, you might think, oh, maybe it's a bomb, if you knew what a bomb was. So he says, well, let's just look around us at the rest of nature. Let's compare nature to the watch. Imagine a bird's wing. How complicated all those feathers and bones are to be able to allow the bird to fly. The human brain is quite similar to a computer, but far more powerful than any computer that exists currently anyway. You could make the analogy between a fish and a submarine. Both of those are complicated and have a purpose. What else could you do? I used to, with my students, I would get them to look at like army camouflage gear. So like when the soldiers are out in the desert and they wear the colours of the background, and there are lots of creatures that adapt to their environment by using camouflage. So Paley's argument is basically relying on this analogy. Is a watch similar to nature? Is the universe a bit like a gigantic piece of clockwork that was deliberately designed? So Paley says, watches are designed, we know that. They are complicated and have a purpose. Similar effects imply similar causes. Similar effects imply similar causes. So he says nature is also complicated and has a purpose. Therefore, it must also be designed. Who could be the designer of nature? Only an all-powerful God, according to Paley. So Paley's conclusion is that an omnipotent God has caused the universe. So, does it work? Well, I will be covering that in my next video. Thank you very much.